Alright, welcome to episode 2 of Swarzo History, which is actually the first episode to deal with a song. So that song today is going to be Diomedes from my album Odyssey. Diomedes is a character from Greek mythology, but the song is specifically about Diomedes in the context of the Iliad, which we attribute to Homer even though we don't really know who Homer is. So we know the Iliad, the general story, which is the story of the Trojan War. Paris takes Helen of Troy back to Troy. Agamemnon leads an army of Greeks against Troy and basically lays siege against the place for 10 years. During the course of that siege, Achilles gets slighted by Agamemnon and goes off and sulks by his ships while everyone else fights and dies, just so that he can prove to them how much they need him to win. And that's the gist of the story, basically, overall, as most people have heard it. So think the movie Troy with Brad Pitt playing Achilles. But I don't like Achilles. I think he's a pretty garbage character, and there are plenty of other characters in the story that seem to deserve more attention. And when I first read it, was very much attracted to Diomedes as a character. So, basically, in Book 5 of the Iliad, Achilles is off sulking, all the other Greeks are out fighting, and they're really getting beat bad, so Hector's leading the Trojans. All the Greeks are getting pushed back to the beaches, to their ships, and the gods are involved. But Athena comes down, and she talks to Diomedes, and she says, "You're my favorite. I'm going to give you this special power so that you can see other gods on the battlefield. And this way, you can kind of pick and choose your battles. You know, I'm not going to go fighting over there. That's where Ares is, or Apollo is. I'm not going to get involved over there. I'm going to go over here where I don't see any gods, and so I can be more help." But then Athena gives Diomedes permission to attack certain gods. So, first, Aphrodite. Diomedes goes after one of his rivals, Aeneas. And Aphrodite likes Aeneas, so she comes down, tries to protect him, and Athena says, "Go ahead, you'll be fine." So Diomedes attacks and ends up wounding Aphrodite, who goes running and crying back to the other gods. The other gods get upset and say, this guy Diomedes thinks he can just attack the gods whenever he wants, and that he's our equal. So they send down Ares to kind of put him in his place, and Ares helps out Hector. Athena gives Diomedes the green light. "Go ahead, go after Hector and Ares, you'll be fine." So he does. He goes after them and ends up wounding Ares as well, who lets out this huge cry of, I think in the book it says 9,000 or 10,000 men. And he goes running and crying back to the other gods as well. And so basically, while Achilles, the star of the show, is off sulking, waiting for the Greeks to realize how special he is, Diomedes turns back this huge Trojan onslaught and wounds two gods at the same time. So what's the point of the song? So my song first started as Diomedes is cool and I like him better than Achilles, so that's why I want to write a song about it. And then as I started to work on the rest of the songs of the album, the song kind of took first place in the album as the starting point of a story. So with Odyssey, I wanted the songs to kind of be an arc, demonstrating like a progression of the human experience of going to war, experiencing war, and then coming back from war. And Diomedes is kind of the first step in that album because it's a really cool story about a hero who goes off and does all this cool stuff. And that's important because the Iliad is one of those stories that everyone knew in the ancient Greek world. So it's not, it's not an exclusive thing. It's actually one of my professors put it pretty well. He said the Iliad was to the Greeks as World War II was to most Americans now. So a lot of hero worship and naivete about warfare, I think, in modern society stems from a kind of basic understanding of World War II as the good war. And I feel like it wouldn't be too far off to say that a lot of young Greek men probably had the same idea about the Trojan War. So these are the kinds of heroic stories that people would grow up hearing. And when it came their time to go off to war, these were probably stories that resonated with them as motivating and, something that gives them something to look forward to. So they're like, I'm gonna go be Diomedes, basically. I'm gonna go be a hero. I'm gonna go fight. I'm gonna do all this cool stuff. So I don't want to use the word propaganda because I feel like it's a loaded word, but that's kind of how I wanted to start the album, is this kind of naive hero worship that kind of eases the path to going to war before you experience it firsthand. So, one, it's a great story. Two, I wanted to have like a heavy, badass song. And three, it really fits the arc I ended up going for. So that's why it takes spot one. Personal experiences being reflected in the song, I don't think it needs much explaining, right? I mean, we're everybody who's ever joined the military or gone off to war kind of has this story of, these are the things I was hearing when I was growing up. These are the stories that I resonated with. I wanted to storm the beaches of Normandy. I wanted to go fight Nazis. I wanted to do what my grandfather did in Vietnam, whatever. And that's kind of how I got the idea of using the song this way. So that's what I was thinking when I wrote Diomedes and put it where I did on the album. Speaking of the album, Odyssey's out now. It's been out for a few weeks. If you just look up Swarzo wherever you stream, Bandcamp, Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music. There's other places too that I don't even know, I've never used before, but I use DistroKid and it goes to a lot of places. So you can hear it there. And next time, and I imagine that'll be next week, because I had plenty of time to make this video, so it might be a weekly thing in the meantime. The next video I'll be talking about the second song on Odyssey, which is called The Sacrifice. I'll see you then.